How did you come to know Christ?
Yeah, so I grew up Christian, gave my life to Jesus around the age of 4, was in a private kind of Christian school growing up, and my mom was a big Christian and my dad was a Christian as well, and Christianity definitely shaped my character, my morals growing up. It's kind of turned into a little bit of a knucklehead, and my parents sent me to Christian school, not because I was acting bad, just because they thought I'd kind of get lost in the shuffle at a public school with too many students. And so gave my life to Christ and was following that path, but really it was marked my relationship with God as I felt like there was a lot more like guilt and shame around my relationship with God than feeling like the love and grace of Jesus. And I know we have a tendency to project our relationship with our Father, onto our relationship with our Heavenly Father. And so I feel like that was definitely a factor for me. And, when I was in high school, I was going to church, going to Saddleback, but my mom ended up getting stage 4 ovarian cancer just out of the blue. And it really kind of rocked our worlds. And my mother was the spiritual kind of leader of our family in a sense. She was the one that was always making sure we went to church and just trying to really share the love of Jesus with others. And I saw the cancer actually start to kind of make her question her faith, and that really shook me. And I just remember her questioning, why would God do this to me? And and I just remember saying, Mom, don't say that. I just said, at the time, I don't think I could have emotionally handled it. Seeing her, just kind of her world rock like that, and the fabric of her reality start to crumble. And ultimately, she got diagnosed with cancer when I was a senior in high school. Freshman year, I ended up actually having a manic episode, and I had to be 5150'd. Luckily, my friends at the time in college called my parents and said, "Hey, we don't think Tyler's acting normal." And so I from the stress of potentially losing my mom, and there was the 08-09 financial crash, 07 crash around that time, and so it was just a stressful period. My mom ended up living around 5 years with cancer, and then she ended up passing away. And when she passed away, I strayed from Christ. I went and did my own thing. I pursued a worldly pursuit of just a career in electronic music. And, the whole time I was trying to find these answers. Even my first single that I released, it got some support from Zed's Dead. They put it on their Diplo and Friends mix. And I was like, the song was on BBC Radio and Diplo was talking over it. I was like, man, this is it, but, I was searching for these answers, but I just never felt fulfilled. I always felt like I was just one step behind in finding fulfillment and having a true confidence in who I am. And so I went down the spirituality rabbit hole for about 10 years, and I tried everything. I tried psychedelics, I tried therapy and different programs, and just looking for answers in all the wrong places. And ultimately, I kind of had one thing, everything I had built my life on, one thing after the next get pulled from under me. Maybe life's just about having an amazing family life. Well, what happens when your mom's sick and she passes away? Maybe the meaning of life is choosing, chasing your passion and career. Well, what happens when that doesn't work out? I mean, I couldn't even rely on my own mind, right? I had lost my mind along the way. I luckily, by the grace of God, got help and gained that back. But one after another, these things and these pillars I built my life on were just taken from under me. And the last kind of pillar of my life that I wanted to build, to see, hey, maybe life's about this, was I found a girl that I was interested in, and I was like, maybe life's just about having a white picket fence and having a nice home in Orange County and having a family. Maybe that's what's going to bring me happiness. And then about a year and a half into us dating, my girlfriend at the time, her name was Angelica. She was French and Italian, and so we went to France to meet her family, meet her parents. And, I asked her father for his daughter's hand in marriage. He said yes. We get back, and a week later, 2 weeks later, she gets diagnosed with stage 4 lung cancer. And so, as you can imagine, completely rocked my world. And I just was like, really? Like, again? Like, this is deja vu? This is gotta be a sick joke. And so that last pillar I started to build my life on, I realized, well, I can't build my life on that either, because that's not, I'd be building my life on a house of sand. And so, at the time, I was living with my grandma, and she passed away while Angelica was sick. And I just knew, I was like, if I was thinking to myself, how could I honor my grandma's legacy? And I just knew she'd want me to go to church. She was a strong believer. And this woman overcame just about every obstacle you could think of, and still had the joy of the Lord in her heart, despite being handicapped and just having, a really rough life. And so I started going back to church. I found a men's group, and I started to give my life to Christ, and it started to change everything. I started to have a hope, even though my girlfriend at the time was sick. I started to see a light at the end of the tunnel. Like maybe there's more to life than just these things of the world that I've been chasing. And unfortunately, Angelica ended up passing away. Rocky road at the end there. We actually ended up splitting up before she passed away, and that guilt and shame of breaking up with someone with cancer, that really ate at me for a while. And ultimately, I had to give that up to the Lord. Luckily, she was able to give her life to Christ before she passed away. But it's been about 2.5 years since that, and I've been just really all in on following Jesus Christ. And it's hard to convey to people, how I'm doing after experiencing something like that. And I feel weird when I tell them, hey, despite all those things I went through, I'm actually doing the best I've ever been. And not just by a little bit, but by a long shot. The Lord has, in the process, renewed my health, renewed my relationships with my family, giving me these incredible group of friends, and revived this music project, which I went by the name Atherton, and now I'm going by Atherton Found. And my first single is about the story of the prodigal son. It's called The Rescuer. And it's funny because I was reading it the other day, the story, the passage. It's in Luke, and I was just, in multiple parts of that story, it says, the father says, my son was lost and now he's found. And just real quick, the story about the prodigal son, for those of you that don't know, it's about a story about a father and 2 sons. One of the sons says, hey, I basically want nothing to do with you. I want my inheritance now, and I want to get out of here. And he says, okay, I'll let you have your way. And so he gets his inheritance, goes and spends it on, the things of the world, prostitutes and gambling, all, just everything that the world has to offer. And he ended up running out of money, and then a famine hit. And he found himself in this position where he was feeding these pigs, and he couldn't even eat the food the pigs were eating. He was so destitute and poor. And he basically was at the lowest of the low, and he said, okay, I'm going to go back to my father, and I'm not even going to ask to be his son. I'm just going to go back and ask to be a servant. I don't even deserve to be a son. And man, this story gets me every time. And it's funny, I've told this story probably 10 times now. I get emotional every time, but he goes back to the father, just with his head down, and just with a ton of shame and guilt. And as soon as the father sees him, he runs to him, gives him his robe, gives him his ring, says, my son is returned. He was lost and now he's found. And he says, let's kill the fatty calf. It's time to celebrate. And it's just so powerful because despite us leaving God, he never stops loving us, and we're never too far gone. And there's definitely been times where I just man, I don't even deserve the love of our Heavenly Father. I've done everything to run away from him. I couldn't even say his name. I literally could not even say the words Jesus, God. I was just saying the words the universe, right? And in the song, the lyrics are, I chose chains, I spit in your face. You chose forgiveness, you still gave me grace. And ultimately, experiencing the grace of God and that love of the Father, despite me turning my back and spitting in his face, not just basically just saying, I don't want anything to do with you. The love I experienced, returning to him, that's been the most powerful thing in my life by far. Nothing I've ever experienced has been like that. And so I made this song, and it's really about my coming back to Christ. And really the story of the prodigal son is really all of our stories when we come back to the Father. That's what makes it so powerful. It's not just about me. It's not just about the song. It's really about anyone who's lost, anybody who's wanting to return home to the Creator that made us, that knows every hair in our head, that just knows every desire of our heart and loves us so much. So really the point of this song, the point of this music project is to let people know you're not too far gone, and that hope has a name, and his name is Jesus. And I'm going to spend every day for the rest of my life telling everybody about just the miracle that happened in my life. And I'm a crybaby now. That's one thing the Lord has changed. Like I didn't cry after my mom passed away for almost 10 years. I cried maybe 2-3 times, and now it's like I find myself crying every other day, and that's fine. Like that was one of the things the Lord did for me, was he cracked open my heart and let me feel again. And it took a lot of grieving, a lot of pain, a lot of suffering to get here, but it's been so worth it. And one thing I just love about the Bible too is you can always find hope and answers in it. And one of the verses in the Bible, it talks about God saving every one of our tears, and that none of our pain goes to waste. And so I just want to let you know that your pain hasn't gone to waste. There's a God who loves you and who's running after you. And I hope the song to just, if it even points one person back to Jesus, it's all worth it. Because that's really the point of this project. That's the point of why I'm doing music. And that's, that's why we're here. So again, hope has a name, and his name is Jesus. And every day is I get to wake up with this joy in my heart, and that just is undescribable. And there's this love, this peace, and this joy that I want to share with the rest of the world. And I'm excited to do this. Thanks for watching this. If you've gone all the way through, and forgive me crying. I can't help it. I'm a crybaby now. I'm a proud crybaby. So I love you. I'm excited to do this with you, and stay tuned. It's just going to keep getting better and better. Thanks.